Well, Merry Christmas, everyone, once again from Wesley Biblical Seminary. Today we're going to talk about love. Let's read from Luke's Gospel, the second chapter, first few verses. Now in those days a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that a census be taken of all the inhabited land. There was the first census taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and everyone was on his way to register for the census, each to his own city. Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the city of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and family of David, in order to register along with Mary, who was engaged to him and was with child. While they were there, the days were completed for her to give birth. And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and she wrapped him in cloths and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. The area that I want to focus on in this reading is that last bit where it says that she wrapped him in cloths and laid him in a manger. I have to wonder why this detail in the text. There's so many things that are left out of the story. How did this piece get in? That she wrapped him in cloths and laid him in a manger. Well, I believe that this is a foreshadowing of another time in the life of Jesus, where he will be wrapped in clothes or cloths and laid somewhere. And of course, this is in reference to his death and his burial. That after Jesus dies, the Gospels tell us that he's wrapped in burial garments and laid in a manger. And again, those garments are called into the story in the resurrection account, that the cloths that he was wrapped in for burial are there laying inside of the tomb. So even here at the birth of Jesus, there's a forward looking to his death. In other words, Jesus was born to die. We see this as well in one of the gifts of the Magi, where the Magi bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Myrrh is an anointing balm for burial. It would be strange if someone showed up to a newborn baby's room in a hospital and the gift to the family was a tombstone. So in this story, we're reminded that Jesus was born to die. And this is a reminder of love at the Christmas season. That the driving force behind the coming down of heaven, that heaven comes to us, that Jesus is sent to us, that he comes and makes his presence with us, that he draws people to himself. The whole idea, the driving force behind that is the love of God. Self-giving, sacrificing love. Paul says, it would be strange for someone to love, or someone to die for one who is righteous. It would be strange for someone to die for their friends, but to die for their enemies. And the fact that Jesus is born to die in our behalf as a sacrifice in our place is an act of love of the triune God. It's his way of loving us, is dying for us and coming to die for us. And so we're reminded of the love of God as we're thinking of the fact that Jesus came to die in our place. This is not just a reminder for us to sense God's love at Christmas, but also to remember that as Christians, we too are born into God's family to die for others. We as Christians are called to die. We are given new birth, as Jesus says to Nicodemus in John chapter 3, for the purpose of dying. I have a good friend when he does baptisms. He looks at the person he's about to baptize and says, "Are you ready to die?" To be a Christian is the call to take up our cross and to follow Jesus. He who is willing to lose his life will find it. So this Christmas, we're to be reminded that we're loved deeply by God, and that love of God that shed abroad in our hearts, that floods into our hearts, drives us to self-sacrifice for the world. So be reminded of love this Christmas, and remind the world of love through your own sacrifice. Merry Christmas.